It's not as, yow! Yeah, you don't want to do that either. Well, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. As I was editing this video, I realized I had forgotten to do an intro. So, here it is. As you can see, private parts in the background, these all put back together. But this video is going to show the final steps, putting them back together, and then we're taking them to a car show for Father's Day. This is going to post the Friday after, but at any rate, sit back, enjoy, and thanks again. Okay, well, we're waiting on the paint on the hood to dry well enough so we can pull the paint masks off. We're going to get the bows installed back on. Now, we're not going to put the straps back on just yet. I want to go ahead and get everything bolted back onto the Jeep, and then, you know, to see where we may need to touch up some paint here and there. So we're going to do that, and then, yeah, and then we'll go ahead and continue on. Alright guys, we're going to get the grill put back together and get the grill reinstalled onto private parts there. Now remember, you got the adjustment holes here and here. Adjustment hole needs to be to the top. All right, now that we have the grill on, we're going to put this welting material on. First things we got to find out is what size pop rivets we're going to need for this. I think that ain't it. Alright, I gotta go do some hunting. Alright, we got the right size pop rivets now. Oh, come on, piece of junk. There we go. We're just going to go along and mark them, get everything centered up, punch the hole there, put the pop rivet in, and just continue on doing that all the way around till we get to the other side. And we will show you what that looks like when it's done. Alright, and this is how it looks now. Much better than it was before. Now, next thing on the list is get the dash put back together. We're going to start with the valve here for the windshield wipers. And I think I'm going to have to go get a different screwdriver to get that other screw in. We'll get the ignition switch put back in place. Now remember, we tucked and jammed a bunch of this stuff up underneath the dash here, so I got to find where it went. There it is. That is the one for the turn signal switch, which we will get to in a bit. There we go. Now we got to find the screw for that holds that onto the switch. I don't know where the heck that went to. And we're also going to be changing out the light switch, so we'll get to that here in a bit. Next thing that comes is the data plate. Now, this data plate here is one that I got and I restamped it. So because it's restamped, I'm leaving my original one, which is all faded out. I'm putting it underneath there, so if there's ever any kind of an issue with the data plates, I have the original one right here. I don't ever expect to have any issues, but in this day and age, you just never know. We're going to bring the turn signal harness up and get that bolted back on. That'll go back up to the turn signal switch when we reinstall that. Alright, the next thing, and this is the one thing I've been kind of dreading, is getting all these things plugged back into the gauge panel. But we do have the manual here, and so it's going to tell us what wires go where. So we're going to start out with this one here, which is our voltmeter. And that one should get 27B, which is the only one that hooks to that. Now I've already gone ahead and cleaned off all of these, the tags. Okay, that's 27B, so that one goes right there. Okay, down below we got 36 and 27. So just hoping and praying that all of this stuff still works, because like I said, until we get the battery situation resolved, we're not going to know. And so last thing we do is put our speedometer cable back in place. and then screw the gauge panel back into the dash. And hope and pray in God that we don't have, hope and pray to God that we don't have to tear this apart again. But that is the one thing I love about these 151s. They are very simple. That's it for the gauge panel. All right, guys, we're going to show you guys how to do these straps here. These are the straps that hold the bows, the top bows, in the stowed position. This is one of the ones that came off of it. The other ones were just ripped to shreds. So I'm going to show you how we'll do this. Now, when you buy the kit, at least the one that I got, it comes with pop rivets. These pop rivets are way too small. What was on it, I don't know where they went, was sheet metal screws like this. On one side, and then on the other side, there they are. These are the ones that came off of it. And so the holes that are drilled in the bows are the right size for these little screws here. So that's what we're going to be putting back on it. But we want to make sure that the holes are lined up the same as this on this one. So we're going to take these two pieces, we're going to put them together like this, and we're going to put them in the vise and clamp them so that the tips of the buckles are lined up, and it's just, you know, because we want to be able to drill through this using this as a pattern. But so you need to set it down deep enough into the vise that you're catching some of the brass here. And we're using a 13/64 drill, which is a 64th over 3/16. These are number 10 screws, 3/16. So we'll just go ahead and go in there, go nice and easy. This is brass, so it'll cut right through it. And when you can feel it, when it starts getting close to the end, you can feel it wanting to pull through. You want to slow down and lower your pressure when you're doing that. Same with, you know, working a hand drill like this, as working a drill press, milling machine. You can feel it kind of grab there, and by lowering your pressure and not pushing quite as hard, you're going to, it's not going to slam through and you slam your knuckles on the deal, you know, on the vise, or worse, you get caught and it spins the part, especially if you're on a drill press with a, what am I trying to say here? Piece of sheet metal, thin metal. You always want to clamp that stuff down. As you should be able to feel it as it goes through, and then slowly bring it through. I've been a machinist. I have been working, I'm 58 years old, and I've been working in a machine shop since I was about 6. Our family had a machine shop, and so my dad put me to work at a very young age. So I learned a lot of these things over the years. So at any rate, there we go. We've got 2 holes drilled, and let's go ahead and get them screwed onto the bows, and I'll show you how that works, and then we'll do the same for the other side. All right, we picked this forward bow, which is the one that's laying on top of this, out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and attach these here. Now remember, this has got to be like this, so the buckle's got to be facing the way that it's facing in the camera here. And you're gonna want that to be facing upward. And as soon as I get this screwed on here, I will show you why. If you're wanting to use screws like this, you're going to want to make sure that the holes in the bow are of the appropriate size. Now, if you can find one of these bits like this, that makes this go a lot easier. This is some pretty old school stuff. But it gives you some torque, and you can push down on it, you know, to get things started here. And be careful you don't over torque it. The last thing you want to do is get this put together and then find that and then strip it out. Believe me, I've been there, done that. Okay, this is how the straps work. This comes over, and then you've got that footman loop that's underneath your fender like that. Strap it down. Now let's see if I can do this and hold the camera at the same time. Probably not. Let's try this. Okay. And then that'll come back through there. And then you go up and through the, and that holds your top bows. And here's a little tip. Before you tie down the one side, make sure that this side is folded in. Otherwise, you got to undo the whole thing again, and to be able to get this to strap down. We might be able to get this snuck through the bows by bringing it up like this, but it's best if you can remember to fold them in. As you can see, we've got the hood set on here, but we need to get it bolted down. This is not going to be enjoyable. For one person, this is a real tough deal to do. So you're going to want to put your 1/4-20, and these I think are 1/4-20 by 1/4-20 by 5/8. Amazingly enough, I was actually able to find these in my local hardware store. Usually the local hardware stores don't have anything, you know, in 1/8 of an inch increment. It could be because they're small diameter. Not real sure. And I'm going to be using these nylon locking nuts to hold the hood on, just because I do not really want to take the chance of the hood coming loose. So we'll get the bolts put in there, and let's see if I can find. And I did find a block to go ahead and hold the hood up so I can get my arms down underneath here to get these nuts started. And you just got to do it by feel, because you can't see anything in there. All right, we got everything started. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it down just to the point to where it's snug, so we can kind of move things around. We're not going to put an awful lot of torque on it. And all I'm going to do is just the center one to begin with. Now she's tightened up. We'll get the other side tightened up, we'll drop it down, and then we'll make sure everything is adjusted so that it's sitting where it needs to sit. Because the holes on the hood itself are slotted. So it is designed, you know, for adjustment. Okay, we've got those center ones, and I noticed that we need to put washers underneath the heads of these bolts. I think we're probably going to need to tap this side in a little bit. And this side needs to come up. Doesn't help that the whole, most of the Jeep is not very straight to begin with. But it will open and shut without any problems now. The hood latches line up. Now this hood was a little twisted when I got it. It's a new old stock hood, but it had been sitting out for a long time and it's got a little twisted. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to pull all the rest of the bolts out. We're going to lift this up high enough, put washers underneath all that stuff, and then we'll go ahead and tighten them down, and then we'll change the center ones out. Okay, you guys can see that I've gotten this stuff put back together. The light switch I had planned to replace because this locking lever isn't spring loaded anymore. However, the switch that I got would not fit. It was a 91 contract switch and it would not fit in this hole. The other one was a little bit earlier than that, or a little bit earlier than 90s, but it still wouldn't fit in the hole. So we put the old one back in. Now we're going to go ahead and put some of the warning decals onto the dash. This one right here, I had put before on the right above the ignition switch, and I put that right above the ignition switch to remind me to think about doing the PMCS that needs to be done before you take off. Let's make sure that that is not freaking all cattywampus, which it was. So, at any rate, now these decals are kind of like the paint masks, where you've got the decal and then a cover sheet that you pull off once you get the decal stuck on there. Let's see if I can get a corner stuck down there well enough. I'm pretty sure that's how these go. If not, I'm going to feel real stupid. There it goes. Come on. All right, much better. Reminds you to think about PMCS before you start your vehicle. All right, the next warning decal is this one here that says, warning, use extreme care in operating this vehicle. Do not execute a full 90-degree turn at a speed greater than 20 miles per hour. A turn made in excess of 20 miles an hour can cause this vehicle to go out of control and or turn over. That's an important one. Well, we're going to go ahead and put that one right here, which is basically, I had this same set of decals on Private Parts before. Let's see if I can. The last time I had this one on, it was a little crooked. So let's see if I can do this without having it be all crooked. There we go. Okay, the next thing up to get paint is the axe and the shovel. And we're going to be painting this with a little bit different shade of green. It's not the semi-gloss that we've been painting Private Parts with. This is a it's a late war OD green, late World War II, which would most likely still be found, you know, potentially in guard units in the 60s. And that is going to kind of give you a hint as to what the bumper numbers are going to be. And we're going to have to lay this on pretty thick on the wood. This wood is pretty dried out. It's not in great shape. So we'll probably hit the wood with 3 or 4 coats. We'll wait for, you know, a few minutes after each coat and then hit it again. A lot of guys that I see, you know, at the military vehicle meets, they'll take the wood and they'll go ahead and, you know, stain it, and, you know, it looks all really pretty, when in reality, in all the time that I was in, and I was in for about 8 years, 7, 8 years, and, you know, everything, you know, when the first sergeant says, you know, paint the shovels, paint the axes, make everything look pretty, it just went out, and honestly, they painted it on the gravel. If we had cardboard, we would throw cardboard down, but most of the time it was just on the gravel out in the motor pool, or out in the, you know, armory parking lot. So we'll let that go ahead and dry up on the first side, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. All right, now while we're waiting for the paint on the axe and the shovel to dry up enough, we're going to get these seats put back together. I filmed taking them apart, but the way that it ended up, yeah. It didn't end up real well. So, we're going to go ahead and get these seats put back together. We'll show you how they go back together. Seat bottom, just basically, you'll just stuff that underneath, and then these flaps, I thought I'd gotten this cleaned up well enough, but evidently not, are just going to go ahead and wrap right around the tube, not this outside tube, but the inner one. And the underside of these things get really, really filthy. The dust and dirt and everything else like that just kind of hangs there. But you're going to need to kind of snake the snaps here in between the outside and the inside there. And then you've got these snaps, and so you'll basically just pull this tight and snap the snaps. You may have to futz with it, stretch it, and work with it a little bit, but they will go on eventually. All right, we're gonna try something a little different here. Boy, howdy. let's try. Here's the correct way of doing it. Now this thing I'm sure is gonna fight me today. There we go. All right, now we got the seat bottom on. Seat back is much easier. You're just going to take it and slide it over top of the back. And you'll have to kind of stretch it out a little bit to get it over the strap loop for the safety strap. And this will be the same on either one of them, drivers or passengers. And then when you're done, just bring this flap over the top here, cut loose any stringers. Okay, this one is missing one of the buckles or the snaps. So we do have some of those. I'm going to try to find them and see if we can get that fixed. But at any rate, this is how you assemble, put the seats together, take them apart the same way. And so now we're ready to get, this is the passenger seat. And actually, before we finish this completely, we have to put the safety strap on. Now you don't have the safety strap for the driver's side. Okay. Yep, that's how I want it. And then once we get the strap put back in the Jeep and back in old Private Parts, then we will get it adjusted where it needs to be. And one of my previous videos shows replacing this. So we'll get this all adjusted up once we get it put back in old Private Parts. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the air cleaner housing. Now we've gone ahead and repainted it semi-gloss black. We're going to slide that down in there and get our fasteners together first. What we should have done. We'll get our vacuum lines, which are very, very important, reinstalled back on it. And this we got to pull this off anyway, because we still have to put the filter element back in, and the okay, there it is. There's the other vacuum line. All of these vacuum lines are really important. If they do not all work right together, you'll have all kinds of problems with this thing. But let me go get the inner can and we'll get it filled up with oil. All right, We're going to take our inner little oil cup, set it down there, and we are going to take the cheapest frickin' oil we can find. And I still have, this is a bottle of Chevron 10W40 from probably the 80s. And so we're going to dump this. I know that the manual says probably 30 weight, but the truth of the matter, it really doesn't matter. Now, I usually do not fill this all the way up to the oil level mark. This oil, there's a quart in there that's got plenty enough to go ahead and filter what needs to be filtered. And it's not going to splash around that much. And so I just dump a quart in. Quart is going to bring it just about, once it levels out, is going to bring it just about to this line right here. And we'll take this element, stuff it down in there, and then the lid. I usually have this right over here. And now we've got to find our intake tube. I just spent the last several hours looking for this. This is not the one that came off of Pvt Parts. I have no idea how the hell I could have misplaced it, but I had to go out to one of the parts jeeps and grab this thing. Just word to the wise, when you're tearing things apart, don't do it in a frenzy. You'll end up losing stuff that you never thought you could lose. Well, at least we've got one. I'd have been in a world of hurt if I didn't have one. And by going out to the parts jeep, that pretty much guarantees I'll find it now within the next 10 or 15 minutes. So there we go. Air cleaner is serviced and reinstalled. We're good to go. All right, guys. It is pretty late at night. But I want to show you one thing. If you remember in the last video, I dropped one of my 51R batteries and broke it. Dropped it right on the positive terminal, busted the case. It's junk. And those batteries were about 10 years old. So, and I flat out don't have enough money to go ahead and buy 2 new batteries. So, I wanted to see whether or not I could put something other than the 51Rs in there. Turns out you can. Turns out that if you're careful about the way you do it, you can put 2 group 34s in here. Now what I've had to do, I'm using the original J-hooks, but what I had to do is take this battery was a Superstart 34 PRMJ from O'Reilly's, and I had it in one of my other, I had them in my M1010 ambulance, which is not being used right now. So I measured them and they would fit barely. There's height-wise they're okay. And so I had a piece of 1 inch by 3/4 6061 aluminum. So I cut it, drilled 2 holes, and these are on the same hole spacing as the original brackets. And then I had to remove the, the little plastic carrying handles, and then cut away, and I'll show you right there. You just had to cut that little loop that the carrying handles were in. and it works perfectly. It's a tight fit, but it's fine. So this stuff here, let me show you what it is. It is a insulation tape type 2E. This stuff right here. And I ended up with a whole bunch of it. And it works well. I am going to go ahead and put these little protectors. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. So we'll go ahead and put these battery protectors, although this stuff here should protect it, you know, really well anyway. And yeah, if you grab a hold, if your knees are touching the side of the body, and then you touch the damn post, you'll get a little bit of a zap. That's the reason why my hand recoiled back so quick. So this and this will go ahead and protect it from arcing and sparking. I mean, if this thing goes to arcing and sparking, then I've got bigger problems. What the heck? There we go. So now with these, and unfortunately I was not able to go ahead and wire in the battery disconnect switch just yet. This just has taken too much time to get this together. So that's going to protect that one there, and then so I don't know if any of you guys have done this, but it obviously works. It's not as yeah, you don't want to do that either. Maybe I should have wrapped that. Maybe I should unhook the ground first before I start doing this. There we go. And the battery cover fits the way it should. So there we go. All right, we're getting ready to do our bumper numbers here. We're gonna hit it there, let it tack up a few minutes, hit it again, and then we'll be able to pull the magnets off and put the magnets over here on the other side. These stencils, I've actually used these on multiple projects over the years, and so this is going to be the end of them. But I tried actually a little bit earlier this morning doing this with a rattle can, and all it did was, as soon as I hit the button, there's no control over it. It's either on or off, and it ended up just blowing paint and drips. I had to wipe it off with acetone, and so that's the reason why I'm doing it this way. Now these numbers that I'm putting on here aren't just random numbers. This is bumper numbers for theoretically for 49th Infantry Division, 143rd Artillery Regiment, and the, you know, vehicle number Charlie 6. Well, 49th Infantry Division was National Guard in the 60s. 143rd Artillery was the unit my dad was with, and he was with Charlie Battery, 143rd Artillery, and so that's what the C is for. And then the 6, that's just a number I picked up. I just randomly used. He was assigned an M151. He was a forward observer. And so the only picture that I have of his Jeep, his 151, was a, kind of a picture of his driver. No bumper numbers. And so I, you know, came up with the bumper numbers basically using the, you know, the standard military designations, or, you know, format for bumper numbers. And the bumper numbers that were on him before were for Alpha Company, 1st and 35th Infantry Regiment in Vietnam. That was the unit that my ex-father-in-law was in. And so the reason why the old ones were hand-painted, because all the pictures that I saw of vehicles from that unit were hand-painted. But unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of the actual numbers that were on my dad's Jeep. And because I don't have any pictures of the actual numbers, I'm just gonna have to, I'm kind of making it up. So at any rate, that's the reason why we're using these particular bumper numbers. All right, folks, Private Parts, at least this project on Private Parts is finally done. We started around the 20th of May, I think, and it is now the 13th of June. So, at any rate, he's done. We've gone ahead and removed all of the excess Bondo. We've done a complete repaint, front and, you know, inside and out. We've re-stenciled him. We've put new bumper numbers on. And trying to think of what all else we did. It did a few little maintenance items here and there. Fixed a couple of wiring issues, or issues that were going to become issues. So, at any rate, now we got to go ahead and get the windshield put up. And I've been kind of saving this because, to me, it's kind of special. So, I'm going to pull the pins. Alright, we are going to have to get the hammer in there. But, as you can see, we redid Private Parts' nameplate up there. Added a couple of skeeter wings to it. Alright, let's do a quick walk around here. Old Private Parts is looking pretty good now. Now, so we're So we're going to be going down and getting registered for the car show. Car show is going to be tomorrow. And we're going to add a few, you know, Vietnam era items. A helmet, some web gear, you know, a few other things like that. So at any rate, stick around. Car show's coming up next. All right, folks, we are here set up for the car show. There's still an awful lot of cars to get here, and but we're set up on Main Street in downtown Yerington, right across from Deanie's Casino. And I'll show you what we've got. We got Pvt Parts here, and we brought some set dressing for him today. We've got an airsoft M79, some reproduction smoke grenades, web gear, helmet, flak vest, an airsoft AK, map case. We've got a Burmite can, and that's got all of our sodas and stuff in it. Even got some miscellaneous shell casings and links all over the floorboard. We've got the radio set up, and then we have another one here. Now all of this stuff is, you know, is for display and kind of hopefully generate some interest and some conversation. So at any rate, once things kind of get swinging here, we'll take a walk up and down and show you the cars. We're probably not going to have a whole lot of sound when I walk you know, up and down and show the cars, because there's going to be a whole lot of music going on, and I don't want to get nailed with a copyright infringement. I have had that happen before. So at any rate, sit back and enjoy. All right, folks, well, everything is kind of up and going right now, so I'm going to take a little wander around and show you guys some of the cars that we got here. It's getting a little later on in the afternoon. I think some of these guys have already taken off and gone home. I had to wait until, you know, until now, because I tried several times to get up and walk around when, you know, when everybody was still here, and I would just, every time I'd get up to go, somebody was asking questions about Private Parts, and so he seemed to be one of the more popular entries at the show here. We'll see what happens when they give out the awards. I have no idea how they judge these things. That's a nice looking set there. All right, and here we are back with old Private Parts here. You can see that we had a pretty good selection of different types of vehicles and things like that. So we got a lot of comments, a lot of veterans, brought back a lot of memories for you guys. So we got about another half an hour, I guess, or so before they're going to do the awards. So we'll see if old Private Parts won anything. Well, we just finished up with the awards, and Private Parts didn't bring home any awards, which, you know, I'm not too terribly surprised at. It's okay, but the main thing was we ended up educating an awful lot of people about the M151 platform. Had a lot of veterans come by, triggered some memories. It was a good time. So at any rate, thanks again for watching, and remember to like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again, folks.